Since the beginning of the summer, I've pontificated and pushed, I've presumed and presented and put forward my positions. I've pointed out, I've pressed and punctuated and plugged and posted about both the obvious and the not so obvious, and I've done it 2 to 3 times a week. But now, for the 47th episode of the 4 Ps, I'm inclined to make all 4 Ps about tomorrow's election. Not to worry though, I'm not flushing the format, so here they are. Practical, professional, political, and tomorrow, for the first time ever, I'm taking Jake, my 7-year-old son, with me to vote. Now, Sydney's still too young. She's only 4 and doesn't really understand, but Jake is off from school, and I've been educating him about the process these past few weeks, even some of the issues and some of the candidates. He's excited. I'm excited. We're excited. So here we go again. The semi-affluent white man in me is going to be voting straight down the line in support of purposeful, passionate progress, in support of practical policy, and in support of the many people I care about and the many more people I've never even met. Something practical. How about survival? When I vote tomorrow, I'm going to be voting for gun safety candidates because it's time to hold those in power accountable for their complicit role in our nation's gun violence epidemic. They have failed to act. And actually, no, they have acted. And those actions have been funded by and guided by the gun lobby and the NRA. Case in point, on February 28th of last year, 2017, President Trump signed a bill that had been passed by the NRA-funded Republican-led Congress that rolled back an Obama-era regulation that made it harder for people with mental illnesses to buy a gun. Now, the initial measure that was passed by Obama sought to block some people with severe mental problems from buying guns by adding those people who receive Social Security checks for mental illnesses and people deemed unfit to handle their own financial affairs to the National Background Check Database. Now, had that rule of law fully taken effect, the Obama administration predicted it would have added about 75 to 100,000 names to that database, including 3 of the last 4 mass shooters, Parkland, Pittsburgh included. Meaning these shootings could have been prevented, and were not. In fact, they may have been indirectly encouraged. After every mass shooting in the last 2 years, the president and senators, congressional leaders promised to address mental health. They promised to tackle the assault weapons challenge and AR-15s and bump stocks. They've done none of this. It is time to hold them accountable tomorrow. Only 24 hours to go before Election Day. It's hard not to look at polls and polling data. It's hard not to look at early voting data and the results that are starting to come in. But everything is still going to be decided tomorrow. I still look at 538 and some other sites. Now, yes, 538 statistically missed on the big one in 2016, though I think they had the highest Trump victory probability at 33%, at least of all the prognostications that I saw. Now, right now, 530 is saying that there is an 85% likelihood of Democrats retaking the House and an 84% chance of Republicans maintaining and holding the Senate. But it's going to come down to voter turnout. Now, I'm hopeful that we'll have more younger voters than ever before, more minority voters than ever before, more independent voters expressing their displeasure with the current policies and eroding culture to begin to at least reverse some of the damage that started back 2 years ago. One of the primary staples of the news media against which the president has waged his propaganda war is the New York Times. And whether it's in spite of or partially because of the coverage of many of the failures of our current government leadership, business is booming at the Times. Fake, it is not. Failing, it is certainly not. The New York Times third quarter earnings came out last week, and they now have 4 million total subscribers, about 3 million of which are receiving the digital-only edition. It's the most they've ever had in history. And as of this weekend, that even includes my historically news agnostic wife. Those days are over. Now, operating profit rose, they reported, to $41.5 million last quarter compared to $32 million during the same period last year. Now, it attributed their growth to digital subscriptions and also advertising. They're doing a bang-up job selling media at the New York Times, and the T-Brand studio has emerged even as a viable agency-like model, proficient marketing partner for brands, and doing extremely well. Now, maybe it's my age showing here in my 40th year on this planet, but I have personally never found a gray lady as attractive as I do right now. So this is it. One more day until we exercise our right to vote. And when you do, be mindful of other rights too. The right to love who you want, the right to say what you want, the right to be who you want. Consider women's rights and immigrant rights and the rights of those who are less fortunate. Consider the right to health care, the right to be safe from gun violence, and a woman's right to choose. Because protection of these rights isn't just important, it is our moral obligation.